So my friend's parents low-key, high-key thought I was trying to sell him to the black market. Let's go talk about it. Hey you, it's Olivia. Welcome back to my international travel storytime series. Today we are continuing about the giant trip that I was about to go on with my friend Angel from Peru, who I had met on Instagram about a little over a year before I asked him to go on a giant Job We Met inspired trip to India with me. And he said yes. But there was still a lot of things to do and some loopholes to go through. So that's what we'll be talking about today. Hope you enjoy. So, to get ready for the trip, there was obviously a lot of vaccines and paperwork to do. We held our breath until we got the visas done. Um, I am going to try to find some resources for you if you're somebody interested in visiting India and put them down in the description because it definitely felt a little overwhelming and intimidating, especially the whole you were supposed to have an Indian contact there. And it's like, well, if I've never been to India, how would I have a contact in India? The way we got around it was that we asked one of our hotels to basically be like a sponsor slash reference. And they ask you all kinds of in-depth questions like who's your mom, who's your dad. We were wanting to go to Pakistan as well, especially because there was a winter festival that was going to be going on that I really wanted to see up in the mountains. But for some reason that we still don't understand, they accepted my visa application and rejected Angel's. Even though there was a section where we could say if we were traveling with someone, and I said I was traveling with him. And Angel's real name is very unique. Like, there's no way there was another person with that name signing up to go to Pakistan at that time. But you know what? We cut our losses. We said, okay, well, at least we're going to India. But we ran into some problems with Angel's vaccinations because one of the vaccines that was recommended was Japanese encephalitis, which I had a hard time getting too because I lived out in Wyoming at the time, so I had to go all the way down to Colorado. I took like a whole field trip just to get that vaccine, and it's a two-part vaccine, so I had to go 2 times all the way out of my state down to Colorado. But it was worth it. But Angel had it even harder because it wasn't available in his country at all. We couldn't even find it in neighboring countries. So we were like, okay, looks like we'll be stopping over in Europe first because, in case you didn't know, it's kind of hard to get a visa to visit the United States, especially coming from Latin countries. So we found that it was a lot simpler for Angel to enter Europe. And we ultimately set him up an appointment to get that very important vaccine at a clinic in Amsterdam. So we had a plan down. We're talking logistics. I'm like, okay, so like, are we going to meet up in Amsterdam? And at this point, Angel says, Olivia, I really think maybe you should come down to Peru first to like, help me with packing and stuff like that. And I was kind of like, honestly, I loved Peru and I loved Angel's house. I have started calling it Hotel Chipana. It's my favorite hotel in the whole world. Chipana is his fake surname. We gave him a fake surname and everything for this little world I'm creating. But anyways, favorite hotel in the world, 10 out of 10. um, and I was like, I mean, that's cool and everything, but it's also an extra flight and why? And at this point he says, I really think my parents would like to meet you again and have some questions answered and things like that. And at this point I was like, well, I thought your parents liked me. I mean, I got the vibe that they were cool with me the first time that I met them when I visited the second time before Machu Picchu. And he said, well, yeah, but they're just concerned and my dad's a little suspicious because you have to remember I was basically inviting Angel. I had been helping him cover his vaccines and I was going to cover his flights because I'll put this in here too, but in the last video I had talked about this as well. It really wasn't fair for me to ask him to even try to cover a very expensive flight, like a flight to India, because of the income disparity between our two countries. So there was that. So that's where I was coming at it from, and the fact that basically in exchange he was going to be helping me feel safe. Not like a full on bodyguard or anything, but just it was going to help me by having a man with me, especially a brown man. And he was a photographer, so I was like, and you can also do some photography for me, and we'll call it even. We're friends. But his dad was thinking some other things. And I finally got it out of Angel that his dad was worried that maybe I was like a front for a human trafficking ring or something. And I was just like, oh, no, 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 no. That is not what this is at all. He's like, I know you're a good person, but you know, they've only met you once, and it would probably make them feel a lot better if you would stop by the house first. So that's how I ended up getting a plane ticket down to Peru, basically just to, you know, stop by the house and talk to Angel's parents and give them a little bit of peace that I'm not a smuggler or whatever. It was really sweet when I got down there because the first 2 times I had, you know, organized my own transportation into a more popular part of the city and eventually met Angel there. But this time he was standing outside the terminal gates for me. And I remember I got so excited seeing him. I had 3 backpacks because we were each supposed to take a small backpack with us and a larger carry-on. But I wanted to make sure he had a decent quality backpacking backpack. So I brought him one that like matched mine, just different color. Anyways, I had these 3 bags on me and I see him and I'm so excited and happy. I'm like, oh my gosh, because at this point we hadn't seen each other since October of last year and now it's September, almost a year. And I see him and I drop all my bags and I run up and hug him, and he was really sweet and hugged me back. But afterwards he did say, you know, Olivia, I was just so worried about the bags because we were in Callao. And I was like, yeah, that probably wasn't the best idea, but I'm glad everything was okay. Angel opened up to me and said that while him and his family were waiting for me to get through immigration and everything, his mom was sitting in the front seat and she said, I don't know if I should be happy or sad that this gringa is here. So that was kind of the undertone starting out, even though they were very gracious to me. Like, I was being a little bit of a princess, and I had meant to get a water bottle when I passed through customs because I don't drink the tap water there, and I try not to brush my teeth with it either, just, you know, to be on the safe side. And I get in the car with them and we're riding and I'm like, oh wait, I don't have a water bottle. I want some water to brush my teeth with tonight. And so Angel had to explain to his family, hey, we need to stop and get her some water because she doesn't use the tap water to brush her teeth. And so they stopped at a little convenience store and Angel went in by himself. He was like, you just stay in the car. And I felt so embarrassed. But that was very sweet and accommodating of them. And then we got to the house. It's already late at night, maybe 11 p.m. or so. His 2 brothers were upstairs sleeping already. And his mom invited me to have some coffee. And my weirdo self was like, no, how about just some milk? Because I wanted to make sure I was going to sleep because I was kind of hyped up from everything. And I was like, I will never wind down and have some coffee. So, you know, she pours me my glass of milk. And she just is like, so tell me about this trip. And I do want you to keep in mind this whole time that everything's in Spanish right now because Angel is the only person in his family who speaks English, like, fluently. I think the other ones, anyways, I'm rambling. So he's the only one in his family that really can have a conversation in English. I had been taking so many Spanish lessons, it's not even funny, trying so hard to really improve my Spanish, really be very well conversational. I was even having specifically Peruvian instructors because I wanted to make sure I was able to navigate this conversation well with her. And Angel was there too, but really it was mostly her and me. And then every now and then he would say something, but he really didn't have to translate for me. And that was an amazing feeling to be able to, you know, just eye to eye talk to her. And, you know, I pulled out the medicine bags because I had put together both of us some medicine bags. If you saw my little short, you can never trust that they're going to have what you're used to using wherever you're going. So if you have essentials that you don't want to be going without, you need to be sure to bring them. But anyways, I was showing her this is the malaria medicine, this medicine's for if this happens, this medicine is for, this common ailment. I talked to her about how I'm a nurse, and if anything were to happen, I would make sure that we got him the best possible care, like treating him just like family. And I got her number so that she could know what was going on my end too. And at the end of that whole conversation, just explaining to her where we were going and what we were doing, and how we were preparing for it, and a little bit more about me and who I was, and also who Angel was for me. She looked down at the table and the medicine bags, and she said, I was really worried, but you've given me a lot of peace with this conversation. And I felt so much more peace knowing that she felt peace, because I get it, especially because her husband was even speculating it was something very sinister. And from her end, all of her sons still stay with her, and they've never, I don't think any of them had ever been away from her for more than a week or two at a time. And now I'm like, yeah, I'm taking your son halfway across the world, and we're going to be gone for like literal months. So I'm so glad I could give her peace, and that her and me were able to have that connection and that conversation. That was so meaningful. But yeah, I stayed there 2 nights because we spent one day, I basically just ran around Lima with Angel doing last little errands that he needed to do to wrap up his life there, because we were both pretty much just leaving our lives and our countries behind, and we were going to figure it out when we got back. And then it was time to head to the airport. We had everything packed up, we had all of our visas printed, all the essentials. If we were forgetting it, it was just going to be forgotten. Actually, that reminds me of a little side story. Hope it doesn't bug you. So I did forget a very important thing, and that was pajamas. So my pajamas were just some booty shorts and a tank top that I had gotten in Miami because my girl, one of my friends in the States and I had done a little girls trip down to Miami right before I went to Peru, since that's how you get direct flights to Peru. Atlanta also has direct flights, in case you needed to know that. Anyways, tangent over. Angel's dad takes us to the airport with his mom. His brothers just said goodbye to him at the house because I think they both had like work and school to do. And then we got on the plane and it was time for Europe. And that is the end of this week. That was our little Peru chapter 3 / I am not a human traveler. And I hope this video does not get demonetized, please. I'm not even monetized yet, but someday, right? Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. It's just a nice little short casual chat this week. Make sure to tune back in next week. We'll be talking all about Amsterdam and the clinic. And if you want to hear about my travel nursing experiences, you can tune in on Monday. I've already got a playlist going on. You can check that out right here. And I just hope that you're able to find a way to make this weekend a little bit brighter for yourself and those around you. Thank you so much. Bye. Oh my gosh, you stayed after the credit scene. Thank you so much. You get an invitation to be one of my new internet besties. And since you are my internet bestie now, can we just talk for a second about how this channel has been doing so good this week? Like, oh my gosh. I know it's still nothing in the giant sphere of YouTube and everything, but for me, it's been so exciting. And I've loved seeing every single one of you guys' comments. Speaking of that, if you're still here right now, let me know you watched all the way through by dropping a cute little emoji down in the comments, please. I would love to see anything, unicorns, burgers, maybe the flag of the country you're from, if you're from anywhere, even the States. Put a United States flag if you're a fellow United States person. Anyways, that was it. Just a little post-credit chat with you, internet bestie. I hope that your weekend is amazingness, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon. Goodbye.